there's a lot of time wasted in these relationships, you know, for both sides. Like, you know, maybe you guys are hanging around just playing video games the whole time when you're supposed to be doing something else. And I think that's what comes with growth in yourself. But again, the people around you, and if they're not growing to go past that, then again, like, it's probably, you don't have to cut them off and say, hey, we're not friends anymore. Right. But listen, I'm going to be doing this now. And
I say that all that to say that, like, that was 2020. It's crazy. That was 4 years ago. It blows my mind it was that long ago. But so much has changed in the world in that amount of time that, like, when I talk about when I was in music and working in the music industry, it's almost like it was 20 years ago.
If you're not doing that as well, like, the organic is more important than this stuff we're talking about.
You're going to build a stronger connection.
100%. But without this part, this won't come together. Your organic will fall short. So this is why, like, with me, like, especially with the media company, a big thing that I push on our clients is the organic side. And that organic side, I find a lot of people are very lazy on, and they don't want to do that anymore because they think it's okay just to post online, and they think that that's going to do it. And
welcome to the Little Did You Know podcast. I don't know why I do this when I say it, but welcome anyways. Today, my guest is my business partner and father, not my father, but he is a father, longtime music video director, content creator, all around good guy, Dan Barker. Dan, how are you, bud?
Good, Morgan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
It's literally where I work.
I know.
It's kind of, Monday through Friday, you'll see me here.
All right, so where to begin? We go back to, I don't know how long we've actually known each other or where we ever connected. I think we probably saw each other throughout the music industry from afar. From a distance.
Binoculars.
I
had binoculars at the MGK show. That's where I first saw you.
Right.
You were performing on stage opening for MGK.
Okay.
And I actually was blown away. I thought you were like, I thought you were actually like with MGK. Like, I thought you were from the States. And then later found out that you were like a local cat. And I was actually very impressed, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
And I know you had been doing music videos as well. I actually found out recently that you used to rap as well.
Right. Yeah. Back, there was a day.
Yeah. Those are in the vault, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically what I want to talk about today is how, coming from the music industry, we both come from that world. We still have ties to that world. But we've also, like, grown, expanded, built businesses related to and unrelated to. And so I'd like to talk about how people coming from that world who maybe they're artists, maybe they're, kind of an auxiliary, position to the music, but they, we all know it's tough to make music as an artist or just in general in the music industry, especially as a Canadian, especially, in Toronto, etc. So I want to talk about how those people can potentially either create a sideline business within the music industry, kind of like you did with music videos, or if they're open to other things, expand and try to have something other than having to have a 9 to 5 to kind of support their lifestyle. Because a lot of the people are just doing this as a hobby as opposed to making it an actual business and making money off of it. Right. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk about those kind of things. So how we can help those people create, a business, create income for themselves, whether or not they want to continue in making music as a hobby or maybe use it to fund and fuel their career.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's relevant. I like it. I like how you got to that because, I definitely, I did the music stuff as an artist myself originally. And then kind of really early on in my, I guess you could say, career as an artist, I pivoted to becoming a service provider for the industry.
There you
go. Just kind of knowing that, okay, I'm going to be just burying money. I guess I had an entrepreneur mind as well, trying to get after the money. At first though, as an artist, like you do it just like you said, kind of as a hobby, like you want to be an artist, like you love writing or you love making those beats or whatever it is, creating basically is what it really comes down to. But when you're a writer, well, most of them anyways, you're a lyricist, you're like almost like a poet, like you're writing, you're creating like in that way. So I think like, taking it from a hobby perspective or a passion, to then looking at it as a sustainable business are two different things, which is why I launched Captured Academy during the pandemic. I was telling you about that before as well, where I wanted to teach people how to, make music videos for a living. And then also basically create either your own record label or entertainment company and put yourself on payroll. And I think the big reason why, what pushed me to doing that was like during the pandemic, so many people lost their jobs. So these, people that are more hobbyists or people that are, working those 9 to 5s that are sinking money into their artistry, they lost that lifeline. They lost like their funds, and like where else are you going to get the money to make your music, right? And so when I launched that, it was really about trying to show people like, this is a business. It's a lot more than just making music and making that next album or that next mixtape or that next song or music video or whatever it would be. There's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of infrastructure in Canada, like for grants and stuff like that. And in order to even get your hand on these grants, you have to have your business right. So that was my main focus. And I think it's a great topic. So I'm glad that we're talking about it.
Yeah, because I mean, it just goes for anybody. We don't get a lot of financial education growing up, but especially artists who've just kind of been focusing on the art, right? There's very little business education and financial education and learning teachings how to build a business out of this. So I just like to kind of explore some of those issues, see how we can help people from that world. Either like I've gone into real estate myself, right? So like, there are some artists, probably select few who are actually have made a business and are actually generating income off their music business. But then they need to put their money somewhere. So real estate is often a good place. Starting another business is often a good place. And then you have your 9 to 5ers who are, quote unquote hobbyists, but treat it like a real job, even though they have a real job. And those people still, their goal is to leave their job and just focus on music. But if you don't have some other way to generate income, it can be difficult. So, definitely. So you started with music videos. Tell me the evolution of that, and maybe this will spark some ideas for people.
Yeah, so I mean, like going from an artist to picking up a camera, also like becoming a sound engineer back in the day was like I did that before music video, and that was my first thing where I was lucky enough to be able to hustle up some money and put a recording studio in my house that was actually like a legitimate recording studio that people could come and pay to be there and stuff like that. And even back then I was on a monthly subscription. I was like $500 a month. Okay. And you can come X amount of times per month to come record, and you'll get your stuff mixed and all. Nice. So my spot became like a nice central hub for a lot of artists that would be able to just kind of almost come, I don't want to say freely, but obviously I just schedule your time, but come freely, be creative and do that sort of thing. And so like right away I was like, cool business model, that sort of thing. But with the music video stuff, that was, for me, was my passion at first. It wasn't really about making the money off music videos. I just really was like learning it, self-taught. Like I didn't go to school for it or anything like that. And got myself like a Sony Handycam and was learning on like Windows Movie Maker, which I love to call it, I went to YouTube University, right? Sure, like learned tutorials and all that stuff.
And that's trial and error. Before YouTube University was a real, not that it wasn't a real thing, but before it was a known way to actually learn.
Yeah, it's way better now. Yeah. You can learn how to do almost anything now just through YouTube, right? Whether it's becoming basically an electrician. Maybe you don't want to become an electrician through YouTube, but
I mean, this is where you can learn your theory, right? I mean, in anything you gotta practice. You gotta put things into actual use before practical use. And
I think like the important thing to take out of that is like, find what you like to do, what you love to do, what you're passionate about, you enjoy doing it, and then figuring out how to like be very good at that skill, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're a painter or if you're a video guy or if you're like whatever you might be, right? Sound engineer, like right? Anything, just keep always getting better. Like don't just think that you're the best now and you're the best you'll ever be. Like just always getting better, but at the same time, like understanding that you're always going to be working on yourself, self-improvement, always getting better. There's going to be new tech. There's going to be new this. There's going to be new that. Make sure you're on top of that stuff. But at the same time, you got to be able to be simultaneously be able to put on that entrepreneur hat, that business owner hat, and understanding business, right? Like I didn't necessarily get raised by somebody that understood business, and I wasn't like given like the blueprint on how to own and operate a business and all these different things. I had to also go to YouTube University for that, or, you know, mentors or whatnot. And I think that's another big part is, you know, learning that, simultaneously understanding and learning how to put together a proper business plan, have a business plan, go after it, understand the same, you know, kind of fundamentals over here is you're never always going to know business. You have to keep evolving and understanding and learning new things about business. So always self-improving in all these different areas, but making sure that being an entrepreneur or being that business person is at the forefront. You know, it's not just all about what you love to do and have some fun with. There's going to be some boring stuff that you're going to have to learn as well, but it's just as important as the fun stuff.
For sure. Couple things to unpack there. So self-awareness is one, I think, recognizing, you know, what you're good at, and you can find this out, ask other people, you know, tell people will tell you, you know, what they think you're good at, what you're not. So having some self-awareness and the awareness to maybe, you know, delve into, discover more of that. And then recognizing where there's gaps and where there's need for service. And then thirdly, I think, is building a team, which you didn't really even touch on, but all those things kind of, you know, if you realize you're not good at X, Y, and Z in the business, then you team up with somebody who is, you focus on the thing that you are. So I think there's a lot of things in there that can be done, right? But people have a very narrow vision, I think, when it comes, especially when it comes to like, I just want to do the music, that's it. But you know, if you really want to make this sustainable, and again, I'm not even talking about necessarily building a business within the music, like itself, sure, great, but maybe you can come up with something that is going to service other people that are in your circle. Yeah,
and it could be something that's relevant to the, you know, the parallel that you're in. But it could also be something completely opposite, right? But I think, you brought up something that I definitely didn't necessarily touch on, which is a team. And I think, like even from a young age when I was doing all, you know, my first, you know, entrepreneur journeys and stuff, I always had partners. Like I always had, you know, a strong team, good people around you. And I think like now even more, like as you evolve and get, you know, further along your stages here, which I'm sure most people that are watching this, you know, you've already done some stuff. You've already failed at some things. You've already had a team. You've already lost the team. Like, you know, you're going to go through friendships. You're going to go through business relationships, and, you know, you're going to have failed business relationships. You're going to have failed friendships, but you're going to have those success ones. You're going to have those ones that stand out, and you're going to have those people that stand out, and just keeping those people around you and adding new bricks to the building. You know, building that foundation brick by brick is so important, and having really good, solid people around you is important, and being able to cut off those people that are not necessarily serving the purpose for your business or your journey. Which is tough, I think, in the hip hop community, for sure, because there's so much about loyalty and about people who've been down since day one and all this kind of thing. And if they're not serving your journey and your purpose now, that doesn't mean you can't be friends with them, go see them when you come back to the hood or whatever. I'm being cliche with that, but you know what I mean? Like that doesn't mean they have to be there every day if they're not adding to the progress, right? For sure. And you gotta be like strict with this. It's tough, but it's a real thing. It's tough, but you gotta have thick skin, and you gotta understand that, you know, you're not doing that person a disservice either. If anything, you might actually be helping them. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of time wasted in these relationships, you know, for both sides. Like, you know, maybe you guys are hanging around just playing video games the whole time when you're supposed to be doing something else, or, you know, you're supposed to be working on something, but, you know, this person wants to just get drunk and have fun or whatever, right? And I mean, you know, when you're in your 20s and stuff, a lot of people fall down that kind of trap and stuff. And then when, you know, when you get in your 30s and stuff, it starts becoming less important. And I think that's what comes with growth as in yourself. But again, the people around you, and if they're not growing to go past that, then again, like it's probably, you don't have to cut them off and say, hey, we're not friends anymore, right? But listen, I'm going to be doing this now. And being strict on that is hard, right? And it can be family too, which can be even tougher, but I think it's important to do it. I'm curious because, you know, I'd like to discuss the people who you've seen who have been able to create a sustainable business in Canadian music these days. Outside, like you have your OGs, you know, you have Cardinal and people like that who have Maestro, who have gone on to maintain in the entertainment industry, because even Maestro's gone on to become an actor and stuff like that. But I'd like to talk about, who do you recognize now that is kind of doing things
have built a sustainable business and continue to do things and support it and are able to grow with it. Because there's few and far between, I'd say.
There's not many,
industry,
I would say, right? And I think a lot of people are more fall in the category of, they work a 9 to 5 and they still do music, right? Which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of it. And I think there's, again, majority there. But there's been some, friends of mine along the way that have still been able to, continue in the journey, I guess you could say. And there's been some other peers that aren't necessarily like good friends of mine that have also done the same. Yeah. But like one of my good friends that is obviously doing very well in the music industry would be like Peter Jackson.
For sure. Yeah. He was probably first that came to mind in terms of really building like a business within actual music.
Yeah, and not just building a business, because I think there's like a lot of people that have built a business,
sure,
but like a successful business, a sustainable business, and reaching big milestones and kind of like living the dream, if you will. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like everybody's dream as like a musician or a hip hop artist or whatever is to like be on those big stages and perform with those big celebrities, do songs with those big celebrities, be talked about in those areas and stuff. And I just feel like he's really achieved that. But obviously, like on a financial side as well, he's figured it out. Like, I've known him for over 20 years and I've never heard of him having a 9 to 5. He's never had a job, right? So this is his job. He works for his business, right? Which again goes back to like what I was trying to achieve, which I was successful at, which was with the Captured Academy, teaching people how to register their own business and put themselves on payroll, right? And so I give him a lot of credit for that because, he built himself an entertainment company, a touring company, one of the biggest booking agencies in Canada. He's also got to be one of the highest paid artists in Canada. And that's a lot to do with the foundation he set up in the business structure he made. So now he is able to also get those companies to pay himself. So again, making a business and putting yourself on payroll is so important, right? And he's a strong leader in that area. So, hats off to him. But there's a lot of other people that I've seen, like for example, like a Black at a Dawn. Black at a Dawn was able to open up like a restaurant during the pandemic, and that was pretty cool because before that, you only really heard of him like making music, making videos, and making noise in the industry. And I always tip my hat off to Blacka for that part of it because I think he's done such a good job as an artist, right? And then pandemic hits and it's like, you can't perform, you can't go out there and sell your merch, you can't sell your CDs. So you got to figure something out. And, he was able to open up a cool little food spot that, was doing well. And, beyond, and I know he's done other things as well. And then there's other artists and stuff out there that have like made alcohol businesses. There's people that have, made clothing lines, people that started a podcast. There's people that have, made these other, little niches work and that are also relevant to the music industry, which I think is cool.
I think Dio would be one as well. He's been able to create a business. It's very niche. Very few people do it. He has this, the entire nation of schools on lock where he goes in there.
It's incredible.
And he has a teaching aspect to it. He also helps people with grants, sets up tours to go to Europe and stuff. Obviously that didn't happen during the pandemic,
right?
But he's a good example of someone who's actually been able to create something and help it fuel his music. And stay in the industry.
In the industry and just having music, I feel like fuel the fire to your business I think is a cool thing because it's like, even with like what I do now with like the media agency side of things, it's like, it's all fueled by music. It might not be hip hop music in everything we do. There's still some hip hop music in some of the stuff we do. We're able to still do our podcast, Connected Op podcast. We're still able to do, a bunch of cool things that have to do with hip hop, but most of it is not hip hop, but still music related. Like music drives everything. Like the reels that we make, the even in podcasts, like some intros. Like Hollywood just actually whipped up an intro for a podcast that we're producing the other day, and he posted it in the chat, and I was like, dude, you are a genius. Like I was just so impressed by what he did, and it's like it kind of actually struck that memory for me where it's like, we're still musicians. Like we're still like, even to this day, like I still feel like I'm an artist, you know what I mean? And so I and whether I'm making a beat or I'm whipping together an edit or whether I'm talking on a podcast, like it's artistry.
Yeah, it's very true. That creativity is, especially for people who come from the music world, is really important to be able to have that within your work. And I find that in real estate too. It's very different, but there's so many transferable skills. And I look at it the same way. I'm like, okay, so brokerages are record labels, the agents are the artists, we got the promoters, and I've labeled them all like that, and I'm like, okay, so now I can just look at this and be like, I know how this works.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, like even we were whipping together the event recently, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. So if I book the theater, I can then book the speakers, and the speakers will sell the tickets.
Yeah,
and
same thing. Yeah,
it's a show. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a hip hop show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wait, we need a DJ?
Yeah, and you're not going to have artists commenting, being like, "Oh, what's this pay to play?" Yeah, like that's how it works in business. You want to get into a room with the right people. You got to pay to be there, right? So,
and when I watch somebody like Alfonso, for example, right? Like literally, he's got his own label.
Yeah,
you know. What I mean?
Exactly.
It's so cool to be able to dissect it that way and see it from that perspective. I think is amazing.
He's the perfect example. He wasn't necessarily in music, but he started with a hip hop clothing store in Ottawa back in the day that I remember going to. And so it's very similar, right? And look what it's grown into.
And it's funny because, that part of my story I always forget about, which is the clothing part.
Yeah.
And like, even when I had my studio back in the day, I used to buy in bulk clothing because people would be coming to my studio and I'd sell clothing out.
Right.
And when I met Alfonso and heard his story, I'm like, me and this dude are so similar in so many different ways. Yeah. And it's just cool to see. He's such a hustler and very dynamic human being, that guy. But no, back to what we're talking about here with like the music stuff. I think that if you're in music, looking outside the box, but keep it close, don't look too far outside the box. Yeah. Look at things that are servicing or cater to the industry, and you can find some fulfillment there.
Yeah, and stick to the fundamentals, right? Don't like go chasing like a crypto or NFT thing like that. Sure, I mean, to hat off to those people who got in and got out of that.
Yeah, but some people figured it out.
But if you stick to, okay, like what do... Like this worked with our business that we created that we can talk about. But as an artist, what services do you need, or what's lacking, what's missing? There's always something that you can find
for sure
and fill that gap, right? And it can be as simple as that, really.
Or disrupt the industry, right? Yep. Like come up with your own thing. Yep. Like I like what you're doing with the real estate, with the music. It's not like you're the only person that's ever done it or ever thought of it. No, sure. However, there's not many people doing it, and there's not many people that are doing it well. So I think like when you start adding in, your hip hop music with the real estate, it's funny. I'm sure you love doing it.
Yeah, no,
it makes the job a bit easier.
It gives me that outlet for sure. Because when the pandemic hit, and I did the same thing with a lot of people did. I did a few online concerts. We cruised around the city shooting music videos, which was a lot of fun because there was no one out shooting Young Dundas with nobody there. Yeah. It was incredible. But I quickly was like, okay, like I gotta do something else. I gotta figure something else. So I pivoted, and I'm like an all or nothing kind of guy. So I dove into real estate. So I get it. You don't necessarily have to go off and find something completely unrelated.
That's right in the circle.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm trying to bring it back, but it's funny because I do have people all the time who, like, there is the odd guy. There's one guy who's really doing the real estate rap thing big than anyone else. And there's been some like cheesy, funny ones that have done it before, but I have people all the time be like, oh my God, I've never seen anyone do something like that. That's amazing. And so it's cool to look like the one who, the only one who's
the
doing
pioneer. Yeah. But no, hey, it's all good. And again, disrupting an industry. And I think,
exactly.
I think that's like a good example though, for anyone watching is like, I just said, look within the circle. I think that's important and you should do that. But at the same time, there's ways to make other industries relevant to this industry and, or not. Like you could go into real estate and not even have brought music over to there and just really focused only on real estate. And I know you kind of did that for the most part of it at the beginning, but it's almost like, you can take what do they say? You could take the guy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the guy or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if that was the original one, but yeah.
No, I think there's like a different word that's used, but
yeah.
anyways, but my point is that it's like, go, jump out, try new things.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important in life in general, is trying new things, whether it be sports or whether it be, jobs, is finding out what else you're good at, because you don't want to be a one-trick pony and only do one thing, you know, and if you never try something, you'll never know if you were good at it type of thing. Right?
Very true.
So,
and it's changed so much in such a short time. Like 2020, Drew and I were in LA. We were, shot a music video. It was the Grammys. Kobe died while we were there. It was like a crazy time to be there. We came back so inspired. COVID was just hitting that. We had to try and find masks on the way, like, back to the airport. And then it didn't really take off here till like March or whatever it was. But I say that all that to say that, like, that was 2020. It's crazy. That was 4 years ago. It blows my mind it was that long ago. But so much has changed in the world in that amount of time that, like, when I talk about when I was in music and working in the music industry, it's almost like it was 20 years ago in the sense of technology. It's like it was old school compared to what there is now. If you're tech savvy now, which you should be, the amount of work and reach you can have via content, and if you're not getting into AI yourself and figuring out a way to make money in AI, like, there's so much opportunity in there that maybe you don't even have to leave music. You can, create a business some way in there. There's just a ton of opportunity. But speaking about content, which is where we kind of collaborated, created a business together about content creation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and how artists can be using that and expanding their reach with content.
Yeah, I think you just kind of brought up a really good point that kind of ties into this, which was just the AI, right? And making sure that you're on top of the AI. And a lot of people, especially in music or hip hop or whatever, are kind of really giving like a bad eye to AI, and they're looking at it in only the negatives, right? Which is like, oh, the AIs are, with the voice AIs, and artists using it, and like, sure, like there's a bad side to it, sure, but if you're not utilizing it, you're leaving money on the table. And content in general, like, everything has changed, right? Music videos, the way they're shot are changed. They're now reels. They're no longer the landscape, right? Like, and I mean, there's still some of that, but I mean, it's pretty much gone, right? And people's attention spans are shorter now. And you got a guy like Connor Price coming out of Toronto area,
crazy,
and you look at that, right? And
is he from Toronto? I was wondering.
I think he's from like Mississauga, Brampton. I think he's from the area.
I wasn't sure because I know he spins the globe to pick up who to do songs with.
Right.
And I saw he did a song with Havaya.
Yeah, which was,
and so
really
I wasn't
cool.
sure if he was from somewhere else and picked Toronto,
right,
or if they connected via Toronto.
Yeah, no, he's from the area, and you look at that material that he puts out, right, and that's what's going on now.
That's it.
I don't want to necessarily say that's the future, because I know it's going to change. Yeah, but that's what's going on now, right?
That's the near future.
And again, it's content. So if you break down the way that guy makes his content, it's got everything that's the recipes to make a viral clip, but then he makes good music, right? So it's like, He's got the recipe to make the viral content, but then he's got the music to back it up. He's got the style, the charisma, like that sort of stuff to back it up. And you need all that, right?
And he's got the non-threatening appeal.
Sure. For the masses. And, the commercial look.
Things,
right. So
you can use it for a reel, like it's catchy. It's got all those things.
The kids can watch it. It's not vulgar, right? Like even Havaya's track that you're talking about there, love it. I let my kids listen to that any day. No problem. My daughter loves it. She's into dance and stuff, and she listens to that. She likes it. My older son likes it. They play it like at their hockey and stuff like that. And the adults like it. Like we played one of his songs on our hip hop podcast the other day, and everyone was like, "That's a 5."
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's cool. It's got that mix of like old school kind of bop to it,
right,
but it's like he's using all new school techniques in how he presents it, and so it's cool.
But dissecting how to make viral clips, how to make content, how to be able to put out 3 clips a day, how to all these different things. Like if you're an artist now, like that's what you should be doing. And for me, like it's not just for artists. Like this is, if you want to succeed in business in general, you need to be putting out multiple clips a day on multiple different platforms. You need to be trying different things, which is, when me and you linked up to do the business, I actually reached out to you and I was like, dude, like we should do this together. And it was because I was seeing what you were doing. And again, one of the big reasons I always tell you this is because you get it. Like you understood that you need variety. You can't be a one-trick pony, but you have to do these, like the green screen stuff. We were just talking about it off cam. you got to be doing that stuff. Is it the best piece of content you ever made? No, but it actually will get you more hits.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you put one of your songs in the background and people happen to like, all of a sudden it's like, boom, is that the recipe? Maybe.
Yeah.
Have you necessarily fully figured it out? Maybe not. No. But if you look at the hits you're getting, you figured it out more than a lot of others. Right. And I think if you just keep going down that pace and keep, you know, like, and I was showing you as like kind of a case study where we helped somebody find that niche that worked for them.
Yeah.
And I was just pushing them like, no, we can't start doing that. We got to stay away from that. We got to stay away from this. Let's laser focus on what's working and let's triple down on that, you know? And I think that's super important is try a variety of things, find out what's working, tweak that a bit, you know, find out what parts of that is made. Like we were breaking down one of your reels earlier and we're like, is it the Toronto thing? Is it the caption? Is it the green screen? Like, what is it? Right. And then you start dissecting it. You start making content that's got maybe 2 elements out of that only and see how that does. Then take a totally 2 different elements from that same clip, just focus on those 2, do a case study and see what, that one did a little bit better. Okay, so those 2 things are working, but it didn't quite hit like that. So let's add 1 more piece from over there. Let's do 3 pieces of it and let's see, then it hits. That's the 3.
And it's just a different, like, it's the same thing as you used to focus on, okay, what song did well? Okay, let me build my album. Okay, I need the radio song. I need the club hit. I need the this. And let me build out this whole project. And, okay, what do we think is going to do well? Let me get some feedback from, like, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? But you're looking at the content you've done. It's shrunk down. It's so easy to do. You can test. Boom. Okay, this worked. Let's not spend a year putting an album together. I can put this track out, see which one does better. Music video can be done in like no time. It can be a minute. It can be up to 3 minutes if you want to, you know. So it's just like there's no excuse. Like I think it's easier and harder at the same time because, you know, there's more people doing it. There's more competition, but it's all the tools are there for someone who's willing to like just figure it out, like you said.
Yeah. But again, it takes the passion, it takes the drive, it takes the want to do it. It takes, you know,
the willingness to adapt and learn.
Yeah. And the work ethic behind it, right? Like some people, they want to put out one reel and hope for the best. And like, what happened? It didn't go viral. That's the same thing with albums. You see people do that, right? Like they put out an album. They're like, how come I'm not famous yet? And you're like, well, you know, you only put out one album.
I love to use Jelly Roll as an example.
Cool.
We did the old school route of like country rock and roll guy hitting bars, doing it. And I did that for years. I just was in any bar, any club, wherever I could perform. He did that for years. And he's now like 39, 40 years old. And he's just like kind of blowing up right now.
Yeah.
It's like overnight success that took 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. He's just it shows that it still can happen. And he's like, you know, went at it the old school way, but I'm just saying if you tie in some of these new ways to reach people, you can accelerate that.
Yeah, Jelly Roll's an interesting kind of a case study, if you will, because it's like he did do old school methods, and I'm such a big believer in traditional old school methods. Like I'm super,
true. Yeah, exactly.
I'm boots on the ground, knock on the doors, right? Yeah. If you're not doing that as well, like the organic is more important than this stuff we're talking about.
You're going to build a stronger connection.
100%. But without this part, this won't come together.
Yeah.
Your organic will fall short.
Yeah.
So this is why, like with me, like especially with the media company, a big thing that I push on our clients is the organic side.
Yeah.
And that organic side, I find a lot of people are very lazy on, and they don't want to do that anymore because they think it's okay just to post online. And they think that that's going to do it. And, oh, well, I did all this stuff online. How come I'm not seeing results? And it's like, because you're not going out there. You're not knocking on the doors. You're not setting up a booth over there. Or you're not, you know, those traditional methods are still very important.
For sure. They didn't disappear. Yeah.
No, and you need to do it so that you can then show them your. I call it the circus show, right? Like it's a circus basically. I call it. There's a thing I call clown theory,
right?
And clown theory is like you're the clown that's out front of your own circus tent,
right?
And you're juggling,
spinning the sign.
That's right, right. But then the people walk by. That's what catches their attention. Then you send. That's it. But then you send them in the circus. And when they get into the circus, there's a whole show going on over there. They're like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, and it's seeming that there's another show coming. Then there's another. There is no headline show. There's just like a next show.
Yeah.
You know, like the elephant's gonna stand on the ball, and then there's a tiger that's gonna jump through the fire, and then there's these guys on motorcycles that are gonna go in the ball, like whatever, right?
Yep.
That's what your social media is, right? Like that's the show. You got to keep it going. It doesn't stop, right? But you got to be the clown out front.
Yeah.
Sure. Getting them into the tent. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that part of it, nobody wants to do. But then I break it down to people and I say, like, look at Elon Musk, for example. He's the clown out front of the show for Tesla, for SpaceX. You see him on Joe Rogan. Do you think he needs to be on Joe Rogan? That guy's so rich, he doesn't need to be anywhere. But he still makes it a priority to go out and do these types of things.
He's on the Nelk, the Full Send podcast. Yeah.
Like, do you think he needs to be on Nelk? No, he doesn't need that. But it's a song and dance, and he makes sure that he gets new people in. And hey, sometimes you're filtering old people out. Like, you know, you see like Elon smoked a blunt and lost a bunch of money or something on Joe Rogan. Do you think he cared about that? He didn't want those guys. You get out of here. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly.
I seen Dana White talking about that too, and he was on the Nelk podcast. And he was saying, he was like, you know, we lost a sponsor because of this, or we lost a sponsor because of that.
Oh yeah, the Peloton one that he was on the Theo Vaughn podcast,
right?
And he got so upset, that
right?
What they tried to do to Theo,
and Theo was like, "Oh shit, dude! I didn't think you were gonna get that upset about it." You know what I mean? But it's granted and it's warranted, because it's like, listen, you don't need those guys; they need you. You're the guy that's getting the numbers. Do you know what I mean? So I think. You know, again, back to kind of what I was saying there is, you know, old school methods like Jelly Roll was doing, right? Mixed with that new school stuff, which Jelly Roll was also doing, right? And then it combines. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You still got to have good music.
Yeah.
You know, Jelly Roll makes great music. You might not like it.
No.
He might not like it.
No.
But I like it. This guy over there likes it. That guy, like, there's an audience.
Having good music is definitely an important part of it. Yeah. For sure. But it is not always necessary.
No.
As we've seen.
Yes.
Sometimes the circus can, you know, carry you a fair distance, but having the music long term is going to be the thing that's you're going to be able to fall back on.
Yeah. I like to use Lil Yachty as an example for, you know, a good case study of where the music is important, because I mean, he did good for so long, but only for so long. You know, he still makes music, and he's still gonna, I feel like, always be something in the industry, because he's now Lil Yachty. But he never became the Drake. He never became like that big thing. And it's because his music's not the greatest. You know, he's not the best artist. I'm not saying he's the worst artist either, but he's no Jelly Roll, that's for sure. Jelly Roll's got hits.
He's like Jellyfish.
You said it, not me. So, Lil Yachty, don't come after me.
Little Jellyfish.
Little Jellyfish. No, but I think it's all relevant stuff, right? Like, I mean, from whether, you know, you're building a record label or you're making a company to, you know, making an online presence. It's like you were saying earlier, like there's a lot of kind of things that you had to use in the past that are relevant over here. It's just different. You just have to adapt. That's it.
Fully. There were so many things as you were talking. I was like, oh, I want to talk about that. Oh, I want to talk about that. And then
there's a lot of things to talk about,
you
know, and I think we could talk for days on a podcast, me and you, I think, because we got just so many different things to talk about. But no, I think we covered a lot for sure. But I know one thing that I actually wanted to ask you is what's next for you with music, because I know you're kind of bringing it back into real estate. And I know that, you know, real estate's got to be the forefront. It has to be, right? But now that you're starting to make music, that's like kind of, it's giving you that itch. Like, are you ready to make an album or what?
Well,
is that
I wouldn't say that. I would say that it's feeding my itch. And it's like we talked about. It's like, I don't need to make an album, because that's not really how it's done now. Sure, that's the cool, like, traditional old school kind of way to do it. And I get how some people, like, you still want to make that project, right? And have it cohesive and be able to listen to it all the way through. I don't have the capacity to do that by any means, because I'm focusing on real estate. I'm focusing on Keep Me Posted, our content business, shameless plug. But I love what I'm doing now. I can do the snippets. I can do a hook It's like, it's 30 seconds long, but it allows me to do that little bit of something and tie it into real estate and create some content around it. And it's scratching that itch.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's awesome. Cause I feel like for me, like music video, like I think I told you earlier, like I'm editing a music video right now. And it's like, as soon as I started editing the music video, I was like, man, I want to go shoot another music video.
Yeah.
Like instantly. Yeah. Like it's so weird. Cause I haven't done a video.
And it's a full video.
It's a full music video. Cool. Yeah. It's like 3 minute long.
And look, I think that there's always going to be space for that. And it's like, it's almost going to come back. Like things swing and then they sort of come back to like, well, now we missed that. Now we missed the full video.
The cool thing I think about music videos now is that technically almost every music video you do, you have at least 3 to 4 reels, sometimes 5 reels.
Yeah.
And you can almost make a whole record now,
Yep.
make a whole music video and just find that perfect 30 seconds that clicks. Yeah. And then, do some case studies with it. And, now instead of doing a full music video, you can do a 30-second music video and just give it your all and do something cool and creative.
Like but no, you're right. Because if you have a 3-minute video, maybe not everyone's going to watch the 3 minutes, but you might have a 10-second clip that just hits with people on TikTok. Right.
Could be the hook.
Yeah. And you might release it 5 times before it hits. All of a sudden, it just got, 100,000 views
or millions
views off of just the 5th time you release it.
Then it gets stitched and then there's an open verse and then there's this what's it, Russ? Like Russ I think he's a great person for if you haven't dove down that and you're a hip hop artist listening to this, like go check out what Russ has done. Like, and you know what's cool about Russ too is he's very informative and educational. Like one thing is his content. Like go look at his content and see what he's doing with that side of things. But then if you look at the business side, and this goes back to what we said at the beginning of the podcast, where I was like, you got to focus on your passion and what you love and what you enjoy to do. But then you also really got to dive into that business side of things. And a big thing that I've seen him talking about was him like refinancing homes and taking out lines of credit and all these different things because he had set himself up in a way where he can do that in order to fund his own tour or get himself a #1 record. Like he said it the other day on the Schultz podcast where he was like, it's like 60 to 70K to have a #1 hit.
Yeah. Well, and he's exposing the music industry. He was a part of it. He was on a major label. Done it. He's now independent. Yeah. He's exposing what they do it, but he figured out how to do it himself.
Correct.
He's a smart dude and he's talented, so he can fall back on the music.
Again, the music, this goes back. None of it works without that, I find, right? And none of it works without that organic, though. Like, and what he's done online, as much as it's online, it's still very organic. Like he's being very open. He's very informative. And, I think value entertainment is the name of the game now. And, I push that a lot on a lot of our clients and stuff is, you got to entertain people. It's back to the clown theory. And, you got to be entertaining to get the people's attention that are walking by.
You reminded me of something I wanted to mention is these people who, if you're going to build an online business, great. But you have to be able to back up your content with actual work that you've done with business. You can't be a business coach or without having a business. You'll fall short because there's a lot of ways to go out there and learn to be a coach.
Sure.
And not knocking coaching programs at all because they're helping a lot of people. I've taken a lot in real estate that have been very helpful. But if you're just creating content about being a coach about building a business without building that business, without the track record, you're only going to get so far.
And it's funny that you brought that up because I'd love to speak on it a little bit too, because I know when I launched my coaching program, it was like people looked at me like that maybe didn't really know me.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh another overnight guru. And they couldn't have been more wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that opened my eyes to the overnight gurus, and I started seeing certain things, and I was like, where's the validity behind this? Like, have they actually had a business or whatever? And I think that there's a lot of unsuccessful wannabe kind of coaches out there, which is whatever. I still hats off to you. If that's what you're going after, go after it. But there's a lot of people out there willing to be people's mentors, be that coach. For me, when I did it for such a genuine reason, which was literally to help people, because I was in it. When that pandemic hit, I was like, I seen so many people being like, lost my job.
Yeah.
I'm on CERB and CERB's going to run out soon. I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I go back to school? Do I do this? I even had that in myself.
I think we all did, man.
I actually took the real estate course. I thought I was going to become a realtor, but at the same time, I was already doing Captured Academy, teaching people how to make music videos for a living. And I didn't really look at that as coaching. And I remember I actually did like a self-awareness test. Through somebody it was a friend of mine actually that was launching his business, which was like a health and wellness business. And, so I did this thing and it was like a personality kind of thing. And what my, biggest, I guess you could say best scores were in was being an educator. And I had never really looked at myself as an educator because it's sometimes, like you don't want to be that guy that like knows it all. Type of thing. And I still don't feel like that, but that's not what it's about. It's not about being the know-it-all, but it's about being able to create a spark in people. People will listen to you. You can actually help people understand something about themselves is a huge thing. That's a skill in itself. Right. And when I started doing it, I only opened up 5 seats because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And then I did it and I helped people open their business and I helped people. Like I had people being like, like my wife was about to leave me type of conversations and like, man, you really helped me turn things around and, making these impact on people's lives. And I think that is truly what everyone's purpose should be, is helping people, creating impact on people's lives in a positive way, whether it's through music, whether it's through real estate, getting somebody in their first home in a time where nobody can get into a first home, whether it could be literally anything, even with what we do with our content stuff, like we're talking about it here, is if you don't have content, you're pretty much you're out to lunch. But not a lot of people know how to make their own content. Not a lot of people need the direction. People need the guidance. So they come to us and they're like, can you help me? And then we help them. And like, we've seen it in the work we do. This is a lot like that. Like, you all of a sudden you sit somebody down, you help them dissect their business a little bit. You help them come up with a content strategy. They create it. And we make it sure that we're helping them to help others. Like even David's podcast, for example, he's helping literally immigrants to move to Canada. He's helping people in his culture to find a way to financial success, right? And that's just one example, right? Like almost, if you look at any of our clients, even with that company, this company, any of the companies that we're a part of, it's all the same. There's like, and that's why I really do say that to our clients when they're coming to us and they want help. It's like, if there's an alignment here and we can see that you're genuine on what you're doing, then it will work. Right. If you're coming to me for a Band-Aid solution and we're just going to blow smoke, nothing's going to work. Nothing's going to stick. So I think that's super important is, helping people help others.
Well, a couple things there. So one thing you said was you wanted to try it and prove it to yourself. And so you did. That's period. That's the point I want to make there, that you actually saw it. You're like, I think I could do this. You tried it. You proved to yourself that you did. And so I think that's a huge thing for people is don't sit there on your ideas and just do it. Is the number one thing. On top of that, you're also most qualified to help the person you used to be, which ties this kind of all together, which is why I wanted to talk about this. Coming from the music industry, trying to help people in there figure out a way to help create some finances and some revenue outside of their potentially narrow view. So I think that it really encompasses this whole conversation, and I pulled that out of what you all just said there.
Well, you're the one that set it up. I just dunked the alley-oop, right? No, I think it's a great. This is a great podcast. It's a great episode because I think a lot of people in your network, a lot of people in my network. I feel like even now, like the pandemic's been done for a little bit, but it's like a lot of people are kind of lost and they're kind of like spinning their wheels and they don't necessarily know what the next step is for themselves. And I think that's important, is to not know what the next step is, but to try new things. But like create a plan and like you said earlier, self-awareness, understand what you're great at and hone in on that. How can you service others and go after it?
And I think you sort of mentioned, did you take a personality test? Is that you said you scored on that you were an educator? So that's a great way to do it. If you feel comfortable asking others. Take a personality test. It's going to show you what you're good at and what you kind of should be doing. And it's so easy. We said this with social media. It's so easy to test ideas now. You don't have to go spend 3 years and all your life savings to test a business idea.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't.
So make sure that the business idea is going to be valid and going to be wanted. And it's so easy to do that now. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and they were talking about creating a waiting list for an idea. Is the simplest way. It costs you nothing. You don't have to create a product. You don't have to do anything. I'm creating a waiting list for this product. It's going to help this people. If you're interested in it, sign up to the waiting list. See how many people you get. If there's 10, there's not much interest. If you get 100 people who are like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool, you could maybe start exploring creating that product or that service.
It's great advice. It's how I launched a lot of different things in the past is putting out the idea there. You can make a graphic, you can make a flyer, you can make a landing page, whatever it is, get the idea out there, see if people are interested. And then, that's that. I think out of anything that you could take from this podcast, I mean, a lot of great advice, I feel like, on this, but that right there, that's the execution plan. That's your first step.
Yeah.
You know, so that people need that.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that first step, hard to know where to go first, right? Like, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go take a mortgage out. Don't go borrow $100K from somebody because you have this cool idea. Make a graphic on Canva for free.
Yeah.
Test the waters. Are people going to buy it?
Yep.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. It was overdue. We've been, working together, talking about the stuff behind the scenes. So it was good to get in front of the camera and do it. And, appreciate you coming all the way to my studio here today.
I was going to request like a fee for that, but you're a good guy and there's good intentions behind it. So got to help others. So.
Sweet. The joke is that we're at his studio. But again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Keep me posted. Capture connections. You need your content in the Toronto and Greater Toronto area. We're here. Shameless plug again. It's my show. I can do what I want. Let's go. Thank you for joining the Little Did You Know podcast. Big shout out to Dan Barker for the conversation today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below and let's get it.